Very warm welcome to all of us gathered over here. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, wherever you are. We're in for a very, very innovative and a very different kind of session today. And today in our session, we have with us somebody who is so innovative, so creative, and will kind of display and discuss a lot of things with you. We have Sunil Jain with us. Sunil Jain is a practicing chartered accountant by profession and the founder and trustee and chief enabler of a social organization called Astha that aims to enable people with disabilities to live a life with complete participation and contribution. Through this initiative, Sunil has kind of carved out a niche for himself, bringing on the Indian wheelchair tennis tour to fruition. He is committed to take the Indian wheelchair tennis onto the world map and to process impacts on quality of life for people with disabilities. He is by passion in a high performance coach, and he has been coaching and mentoring people from all walks of life. He believes that the real essence of living is to invite and to create challenges that are worthy of one's life. Now, with that as a background, I don't think I can come in the way of you and Sunil. Sunil, we are very excited to have you here, very thankful to have you here. Would you like to kind of, just do a deep dive and introduce yourself and IWT, and then kind of, take this forward on not only your personal journey, but also the journey and a lot of, other things that are there. So if you could first start to play the video and then kind of, take this across.
Thank you, Simiji. Thank you so much. I would request your team to play the video that I have shared.
Sure.
We'll just give the context of what we do.
Absolutely. Anand, over to you. So if you could just play the video and that will set the ball rolling.
You want it, and you're going to go all out to have it. It's not going to be easy. When you want to change, it's not easy. If it were in fact easy, everybody would do it. But if you're serious, you'll go all out. I'm in control here. I'm not going to let this get me down. I'm not going to let this destroy me. I'm coming back. And I'll be stronger and better because of it. You have got to make a declaration that this is what you stand for. You're standing up for your dreams. You're standing up for peace of mind. You're standing up for health. Take full responsibility for your life. Accept where you are and the responsibility that you're going to take yourself where you want to go. You can decide that I'm going to live each day as if it were my last. Live your life with passion, with some drive. Decide that you're going to push yourself. The last chapter to your life has not been written yet, and it doesn't matter about what happened yesterday. It doesn't matter about what happens to you. What matters is, what are you going to do about it?
This year I will make this goal become a reality. I won't talk about it anymore. I can. I can. I can.
To persevere, I think, is important for everybody. Don't give up. Don't give in. There's always an answer to everything.
Great. That's an awesome video. So,
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, wherever you are. Happy to be here to share a few perspectives on the so-called inclusion and social justice. I have intentionally coined this subject, title of the subject is Caged in Power Games. Right? Before I jump into the topic, I would take few minutes to share about my experiences which led me to be here, so to say, right? I'll not take much time in deep diving into my life journey because that's not the topic of the day. I'll just share in brief so that you have a context as to whom you are interacting with or whom you are listening to. I'm 48-year-old. I live in India. And one fact of my life is I'm a person with disability. Now, personally, I don't like that word disability because I don't believe any human being is disabled, right? Yeah, we may not be able to do certain things in reality, that just because we chose not to invest ourselves to be able to do that. That's as simple as that to my mind. So I grew up in Bangalore, India, with a middle class family. So I had this one additional challenge to deal with about my physical disability. And in my lived experiences of my life in various stages, what I had to confront is, why will anybody engage with me? When I started, to get the ability to think beyond my childhood or adolescence, when really the live in the world, right? Then the first thing I wanted to confront was, why will any organization engage with me? Why will anyone want to have relationship with me only from the context of physical disability, right? When I talk about disability. So the larger question was, am I opportunity for anyone? Do I have an opportunity for someone else to engage with me? When we talk about inclusion, right, you will agree that we have divided the word into two: the one that needs to be included and the one that will include you. So there is a divide. So if I'm talking about me being included into the word of people who had to include me, then the authentic question in front of me is, am I an opportunity? Or that inclusion is based on charity maybe, or just because I'm helpless, so let them include me. But that won't leave me as living a life of complete participation, right? So that is where I initiated an organization called Astha, looking at how we can engage people with a disability in a conversation that will have them move from being someone who always wanted something from their ecosystem, their world around, to thinking about, I am one of the person in the world and how I can be someone who can engage with everyone. Is that a possibility? Without dealing with the disability aspect of it, right? Without dealing with that other human connect. That is when I started this journey, and we coined 3 projects, which is like, which to my mind comes like a life cycle. Like for you and I, for us to completely participate, I'm sure you will remember the playing days of your life when you were a child. That is where you completely participate without any barrier, right? Or you will deal with the barrier the way you would want to deal with it. So we thought, for people with a disability, rather than maneuvering around the disability, how about dealing with head on? Like if you're physically challenged, let's see what you can do so that you can hit the limit of your limitation. So I think sports is one medium that will put you in a space of limitation, your mind and body limitation. Not only that, it gives you a scientific structure to break through your limitation, whether it is mental barrier or a physical barrier. There's a scientific way of training yourself. So we thought we should work on enhancing the opportunity of engagement for persons with a disability through sport. Then once I am capable, or once I have the ability and confidence to deal with whatever barrier that life throws at me, and I'm someone who's completely participating in life, the next question is, where do I want to invest my energies? So little bit of my study and observation in the social sector, I will just say it is restricted to only in India. I observe for people with the disability, professional careers, the opportunity of careers are limited in conversation. People don't have aspirational conversation, right? Most of the project, most of the conversation are still revolving around survival needs of people with the disability. And we thought we should change that paradigm of thinking. Like anybody else, people with the disability can engage in a conversation of aspirational living. And for all of us, in some or the other point in time, we start deciding as to what would that career be for me, what would be my self-expression. So we do this project called Ignite a Dream, where we keep the disability aside and have conversation about that person's aspiration and see how we can navigate the current challenges so that he or she is on that pathway of engaging in life through that aspiration. Now, the next part of the cycle is taking responsibility for what one wants. And as a citizen of any country, you having your own representation at the policy level, having a voice that can influence the politics of the given context, one has to realize that. And for persons with a disability, not only his one vote, his mother, his father, his sibling will definitely care about me being taken care. So I with me have a very huge power as a person to influence the policy making. But as a collective community of persons with the disability, do we realize that is the question? How much are we invested in understanding how the policymaker or the lawmaker are invested in understanding the ground realities while making the policies, while making the scheme? And that can start changing only when I consciously participate in my voting rights. So we do this three circular sort of a project. We think this is a life cycle, like participation, aspiration, and responsibility. Now, what I'll be sharing today through a PPT is not my innovation, it's my learning in the journey. And I have been very fortunate that I have been exposed to a lot of learning, different leadership learnings, different school of thoughts. And somewhere I have been able to use everything in the project. It's that we are doing through Indian Wheelchair Tennis Tour. The intention is to take Indian Wheelchair Tennis Tour on the world map. Now, to take the Indian wheelchair tennis to the world map, right? One may ask what is the parameter for us to say that, okay, now Indian wheelchair tennis is on the world map. The easiest thing would have been pick some talents, invest for 5 years, and get some medals for wheelchair tennis in India in events like Asian Games or World Team Cup or maybe Paralympic. Even representation would have been a great glory for us, right? That's one way of thinking. But the moment I start thinking in that direction, I am already excluded thousands and thousands of kids with a disability with that approach. And that is not just. While it could have been very powerful for the country, right? Winning a Paralympic gold medal. So we consciously said that is not our main focus. That shall be the byproduct of the work we do. So we want to create a vibrant and democratic ecosystem for wheelchair tennis in India that allows access for wheelchair tennis for anyone who wants to explore wheelchair tennis for any purpose, be it recreational, be it for socializing, be it for health and fitness or competitive sport, or one wants to take on this sport as a professional career. So we want to create a system. We want to create an ecosystem where there is an enablement for all the stakeholders. Now, biggest challenge we deal with is the federation challenge. We are told by the federation that we have no authority to question or work. Now, that is where I say, no, so do whatever you want to do, but the decision makers, if are not sensitized or not constantly told about the ground reality and constantly questioned, will be very far away to cause that inclusion, the kind of inclusion we wanted to cause. So what I have done, I have summarized my learning over the last 6-7 years, and before that about 1 decade of learning in my training programs, and I have got it to you through a PPT presentation. So I will share that. So present in this conversation, in this presentation for the next 20-25 minutes is mostly abstract. You will not see any real tools, real management tools, or real answers or solution. It is mostly an abstract conversation, and I'm hoping that it will ignite some new thoughts, new pattern of thinking in your own personal context. Right? The intention is to provide you another approach relating to and operating in the world. I want to share few facts about how real the divide is in the world. I was undergoing a study done by Mr. Dr. Otto Schomer, who innovated this theory called Theory U. And the divide in the world is categorized in 3, like social divide. And the fact matrix for that is about 94% of the world's wealth is controlled and owned by about 4% of people or organizations, so to say. So you can imagine the kind of divide we are working in, right? And then the ecological divide. Collectively, we as human beings are consuming 1.5x of planet Earth's resources than it produces currently. So without being aware, we are constantly destroying Mother Earth without realizing that we are consuming what it can produce. So there's a huge ecological divide. And then there is this very disturbing self-divide. There was a study done in 2010 which revealed that number of people dying by suiciding is more than the number of people who died because of some human violence, war, accidents, etc. I mean, that is such a disturbing fact, right? So this is real. The divide in the world is real. It is not made up. So there is a need for all of us to really put our thinking hat together and see how we can create a world that belongs to all for engagement and which is just. So before we move on, the question that we can ask ourselves, how are you or I contributing to this divide? I'm saying collectively that's the divide, right? We can say, no, I am not doing anything. But when I say I and you, I mean a collective human race. Look at the current lifestyle, the mindless consumption. And because of the digitalized world and many other social factors, the human engagements are reducing day by day. Means of communication, equipment of communication, technology of communication, and the way the content, communication content, advertisement, marketing, everything is going skyrocketing, and we are inventing many things. But human to human interaction, human to human engagement are reducing day by day. We need to be conscious about that. We need to bring our attention to that fact. And if you look at our aspiration, whether individual aspiration or whether an organization aspiration or whether as a country, I want to be the number one, I want more, right? Whether it is individual or a country, there is an ego. There's an ego of individual. There's an organization ego, geographical ego. Society has its own ego. So whatever goal, whatever aspiration we have, we are at most thinking about my own context. We are not moving beyond it. By that also, we are contributing the divide that we have in the world and the increasing divide that we have in the world. And then again, look at the leadership context in the world. Most of the leadership conversation in the world, at least in the political domain, revolves around being number one, being superpower. Hardly you have conversation with leadership that are emerging from human values. I mean, I don't remember any political leader having such conversation for a long, long time. A lot of conversations, a lot of speeches, a lot of schemes, a lot of projects to make my country number one, to have me be the superpower. According to me, this also contributes to the growing divide in the world. Then there is this world that we come from. If we pause for a minute and ask, why are we behaving the way we are behaving? Why are our thoughts, our actions are oriented without we wanting it? Every morning we don't wake up saying that today I will destroy planet Earth, right? None of us do that. But as a collectively human race is in reality is doing, that's what is doing. So what is that world that we come from? So one of the assumptions we come from is that there is scarcity of resources in the world. That's an assumption, there's a myth. So there was a study. We said food grains in the planet Earth, right, is enough to feed everybody on the planet Earth. If that's the real fact, then why people should die out of hunger? Why there has to be malnutrition? Is a question that leaders we should ask ourselves, right? Is a very confronting question one should ask. So what are we busy in? If there's enough resources in the planet Earth to feed everyone, and if still there are countries that have high rate of malnutrition, if still people are dying of hunger, then what are we busy in? I would say again the power game. We are all busy playing our power games of being superior, being number one. So that inclusion and social justice is not freedom in reality. And then the other aspect, other world that we come from is that quality of life for human being is housed in comfort and luxury. So we tend to possess more and more. We tend to have new kind of experiences as a consumption. But as a human being, consider this, the real joy in the introduction Simi was sharing, that I truly believe the true essence of life is to take on challenges, new challenges. See, this as a human being, the real juice comes when you spend your labor, when you spend your energies, attention, right? And if you were to spend your energy and attention, if you were to have that opportunity of spending your energy, your attention, there is no way that can happen unless otherwise you have a challenge in front of you. And the moment there is a challenge, you'll have to expend your labor. When I say labor, need not be physical labor alone, your intellectual labor, your thinking. We are thinking being. But rarely we think. We may think that we think a lot, but rarely we think. All the thinking is given to us by our surrounding. We are slowly losing our lateral thinking, our unique thinking. So I think this is a myth called the quality of life is in having luxury and comfort, and thereby having more and more aversion towards labor. And I think again, sports or physical activity plays a major role in reversing that cycle, restoring that cycle rather. I will not say reversing the cycle, I would say restoring that cycle. Then our behavior, day-to-day behavior, individually or in a team, in an organization, we are constantly, we think that we are threatened, our identity is threatened. Something will happen, somebody will take away something from me. We can't trust people. We are always threatened. Mostly this is the three domain of the world that we come from, that keeps the things the way they are, that keeps our behavior the way they are. These are the things that doesn't allow us to question, and consequently, without knowing, without wanting, the divide continues. And when we are busy playing the power game, the inclusion and the social justice, how much ever we want, right? But there's always a struggle. There is no new paradigm of thinking. There is no joy. It's always a fight, right? There's always an advocacy. There's always a fight. So what could be the other possible way? What could be possible? So could it be possible for us to come from the world of engagement? Nothing else. Just engagement, just interaction. Like within the given context, I'm just invested in engaging with other organization and human being and exploring what may emerge. I think that's the biggest joy. Learning is there, growth is there, mutual benefits can be exchanged. Just engagement. Can I create a space where people just engages? Again, beautiful example in the sporting world, right? Have you seen two kids just start playing? They exchange during playing, right? They understand each other. They learn from each other. They benefit from each other. They grow together. And then other place to come from is to recognize that every one of us, every human being, every one of us are unique and we have desire to evolve. All of us. It doesn't depend upon the background that I come from or bodily abilities I have, the gender I am, or the country I belong to, or my religious practices, or my socio-economic status. I don't think any of this has any impact on the desire of a being to evolve. And if we can just recognize this desire of each other, our thinking, our approach could be a little different, could be more empathetic. Now, what gives us what we do? What gives us? Like, what is the origin of you, I, or we, right? So consider we we have these four corners we go to. We all want quality results, like want best of the best thing, right? Everything. So I call that quality results in life, outcomes in life. And we all want to be good human being, right? We all want to have good intention. We want people to know us as a people of good intention. So with the quality of we go to that corner called the domain called quality of intention. Then then we all want to do good things. There's a quality of actions. And then we want to attend to only things that are good, positive. We don't want to confront any negativity. So this four aspect makes who we are. This is what gives us. Now, what originates? Is it what directs my behavior in the world? Is it an intention to have a quality result? Or what is the relationship between all these four? Now, to my mind, quality intention is nothing but just attending to what is in front of you. Let sense it. Really, just be with what is there in front of you. Can you just take as it is and allow yourself to sense it? We really need to uncage ourselves, right? We don't have to resist anything. And then observe the phenomena of you being with reality. Something beautiful emerges in that moment. We are busy running away from reality, according to me. If you can just pause and really observe what's happening, that will create quality of your attention. Your attention quality will really, really enhance. Now, one of the beautiful things that has happened in my own personal experience, I would just share a couple of maybe one or two stories here, personal stories. When I say quality attention, there are many occasions when I feel very constrained that I cannot move around. And very recently, I was traveling to a place and nobody's around me, and I have to be lifted to the train, right? And in that moment, there's so much agitation that comes up, the helplessness that comes up, right? And then the one human being was going, one person was going there. I have to stop and ask him. For me, that itself, in that moment, though I speak so much about when I'm in that situation, my humanness comes alive. And I practice just being with that, whatever the helplessness is there, right? Whatever that, I just practice that. And every time when I do that, there's something beautiful that happens. There's some sort of a silence after a while. And then I can start communicating with people, do what I need to do to deal with whatever I need to do. So whenever I focus on this quality of intention, attention, bring back my attention to what's happening, what is there in front of me, what has emerged is some intention which is forwarding. And I have a moment of choice. There's so total freedom in making those choices. And the quality of result. Now, what is this quality of result? Any result, if that is not correlated to the intention that I have, I would not call that as a quality result. For example, I was saying taking Indian wheelchair tennis onto the world map. So if I don't put my thinking and say what is that result that will tell me that the intention is getting fulfilled in reality. As I said, it could have been one approach saying that, okay, let us focus on India winning medal in next 8 years in wheelchair tennis. Will that be a quality result? If I correlate that result to the intention and align to the intention of enabling people with the disability, that was the basic intention we started the project, right? And if I get lost in the result called India winning a medal, then that is not correlated to the intention. That is not the quality result that will tell us that we are in the right pathway of fulfilling our intention. So, be mindful when you are coining your result given by the intention. What is that result that will be aligned and correlated to the intention? Any action you take, if that action is sourced by the intended result or the outcome, there's a complete cycle. Like attention converted to intention, correlated to intention, you have a result to accomplish, and that result is telling you what action you can now take. And there's a complete cycle of your living day to day. It could be the cycle of performance could be 1 hour, 1 day, 5 year, right? It could be anything, but that completes the cycle. And when you complete that cycle, it takes you back to the domain of attending to what is there at the end of that cycle. And then again, make a choice of your intention. And that choice will guide us in our day-to-day living. And this could be applicable to our personal life. To really ask ourselves, are we playing the power game? Are we truly mean when we say, let this place include everyone? You are not somebody who's including anyone. This cap of the we are doing inclusion work. I mean, that to me sounds little weird. Who are we to include anyone? Who gave that power to us to include anyone? We have a choice to engage with others. Others have the choice to engage with us. If the conversation can shift from inclusion, exclusion to engagement, I think that will create more conversations, if I can say, or less friction, if I can say, or a space where power game doesn't have a space, right? So that is what I have been discovering throughout. And last but not the least, the leader's dilemma. As I was saying a few minutes before, moving beyond the context of self. Taking the example of our own country. Now, accomplishing the dream of $3 trillion is excellent, is awesome. But if he just consumed by only that intention and lose focus of everybody being part of that vision, then country being a trillion company will not serve the purpose of inclusion and justice for everyone. So that matters, right? We don't want to bulge. We don't want to bulge. We want to grow together. And that can happen when leadership can think beyond the context of self, or organizational leader can think beyond organization, engage and learn and listen. I think this is what I wanted to share with all of you. Thank you so much. I hope there is a space for all of us to engage with each other, and all these legal structures, enforcement agencies, advocacy work, they will continue. But when two human beings talk to each other, if we can talk to each other without any agenda, without any biases, just to know that other human being, that will be a beautiful place. That will be the total freedom. Thank you.
Thank you, Sunil Ji. That was a very, I think, it brought me not only about sports and about inclusion, but it also forced me to introspect on how we think about a lot of things. The leader's dilemma, as you kind of said, and the cage of ego and power, which kind of, grips us all. We are all very guilty of it. But at the same time, I also have a couple of questions that have come from a few of our participants. And since we do have, about a couple of, we've got actually 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Do you mind if I ask you those questions?
I'll be happy to take this question.
Okay. Okay. So the first question, and it's in no particular order and no connection.
Sure.
One question may not be connected with the other, but there is a question to say that, like, how can you explain the classifications or categories used in wheelchair tennis competitions?
Oh, that's a very technical question. Thank you for asking this question. There are only two categories as far as wheelchair tennis is concerned, and those two categories are open and quad category. The open category people are those people whose impairment is limited to the lower extremities. So if there is an additional impairment of the upper body, right, you will be categorized quad category. So, and you have a different event for quad category. But in the quad category, there is no separate event for men and women. It's a mixed event.
Sure.
Yeah, I hope I have answered this.
Yeah, so thanks. That kind of, like explains it all. Now, the next question that I have for you is that what are the types of adaptations that are made to tennis equipment? So we're talking about equipment over here, if any, to accommodate players with disabilities and specifically those on wheelchairs.
Okay. As far as equipment, I'm assuming you're talking about the racket.
Yes,
No
racket
change.
and maybe the field size or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not sure, so I'm just asking.
Yeah. Everything remains the same as a regular tennis.
Okay.
A player sits on a wheelchair and plays. The only one adaptation is in the rule. And the change of the rule for wheelchair tennis player is one can return the ball in the second bounce.
Sure.
The first bounce has to be within the rules and regulation. Second bounce can be anywhere on the court, and you have the option to return the ball in the second bounce. Need not be, but that's an option.
Great.
That takes care of your mobility aspect, the velocity which one can move on a wheelchair and
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So the next question that is there is that, are there any, like notable athletes who have excelled in wheelchair tennis? And they could be from here or from any of the countries across the world. But any role models that you would kind of, look up to?
Role model is a Netherlands Vergees. She is like 7 years gold medalist women player. From 1992 when Paralympic started, she's been the gold medalist. Right? She's the role model. And yeah, there are many other role models. I don't remember their name, unfortunately, as of now. But there are like countries like Australia, US, and England is doing very well in wheelchair tennis. Even countries, Sri Lanka is doing very well. Sri Lanka has a very well strategized approach. And they are recruiting only men, army people who have some amputation. And I'm sure some of you may know, every Grand Slam has wheelchair tennis edition to it.
Yes, I think most of us are aware of that, but I don't know how many of us have actually followed it. Yes. So
we are just trying to make a mark as far as competitiveness is concerned. Hopefully, another 2 years, we will be in the news.
Sure. I have one more question which has just kind of come in. So this question is saying that that they heard you talking about the inner engineering and re-engineering of and questioning our own intentions and looking at tennis or sports in a very different way. But specifically, if we come to the training programs that are designed for wheelchair tennis players to enhance their skills and performance, what does a typical day look like? How many hours of practice do you put in? What kind of diet do they follow? Is there anything specific or different that you think that people with wheelchairs should kind of concentrate on?
Nothing different. Everything, I mean, personal context, things may alter here and there, but at the
Right.
macro level, there is absolutely no difference.
Hmm.
So people, morning one session, evening one session. So morning about 2 hours on the court and about 1 hour in the gym, and again in the evening about 1.5 hours on the court and about 30 minutes physical, and that's the routine. And you will imagine, you can imagine in between the session there's a recovery happens, and when you go for a tournament, that week is entirely different.
Yes. So the next question that has just come in, and let me just kind of, it's a little jumbled up, so I'm just trying to make a little bit of sense of it.
Simiji, I will add one more, just
Right. Sure.
coming from the context of the what we have experienced, training off the court player to change their mindset. I'm talking about the context within our geographical context, right? The sport is still not looked at a medium of empowerment, unfortunately. It is looked at as a medium for getting an employment or economical empowerment. So we have to constantly educate the player that yes, that will happen, there's outcome, but let's focus on the true performance on the court. You excelling, you breaking barriers, you becoming a better person every week. So that is a constant education that is needed. Mr. Anant.
So, can you hear me?
Actually, coming from me myself, so you talked about bringing the Tennis Chair Academy to a world platform, and you do not want it to be restricted only to India. So, in terms of the roadmap for yourself and for all the others whose aspirations are linked with you as a leader, what does that roadmap look like, and what are the next steps that you would be wanting to take?
Roadmap, infrastructure is the biggest challenge. And once we deal with the infrastructure, the soft resource in terms of technical coaching manpower, that's a challenge. So how we want to deal with is what we thought, in next 1 year, India will have a hub of wheelchair tennis development, which will be like a center or a hub, we can call it, where all the activities required, all the actions required for the development and promotion of wheelchair tennis in India in a democratic way will be undertaken. And we have a plan of getting wheelchair tennis in every state in India, having a zonal approach in next 3 years, which means every state will have one dedicated center where the conversation of wheelchair tennis and work of wheelchair tennis happens. And then we have satellite program in the respective districts of the state. And we want to engage the local academies association and move from doing program to being someone who's training the resources, enabling the local resources, building local leadership, etc.
Sure. I think that's a lot that is there, and I really wish you all the best and all the best for the future. Not only for the IWWT, but you personally. I think you've taken upon a new responsibility, a new way of enabling others, and which is like I hear you kind of, saying it's not just about the technique and the training and the food and the rigor that you put into the game, but at the same time, you're strengthening the core of the person. And I think that is something which is so empowering. So thanks, Sunil, for sharing your views with us, for sharing your thoughts with us, and kind of showcasing and allowing us to peep into your world. With that, we kind of draw an end to this particular session. And that is how we would be kind of, concluding.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.